Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Media Buff Podcast, the show about anything and everything media related. Ed here with my fellow co-host, my lovely wife Jen, master of matitude Matt, and sultry voice Omar. Lady hyper focus Lane won't be joining us in this episode. But anyways, everybody say hello.
Hi.
Hello. I'm back from vacation. You guys miss me?
He went to
I had
Mexico.
fun. Oh, yeah.
How's that vacation?
He got a
Went down with your
tan,
mom.
quote unquote
Went down
tan.
on your mom.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
You know, my mom does listen to this show, Omar.
She does?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Say hello, everyone. Say hello to Matt's mom. Hi.
Way to make
Thank you
it
for
weird,
listening.
Omar.
Thank you for listening.
I didn't say your mom, Matt. I just said a mom.
Okay.
I didn't specify who as in the your.
All right, let's move forward. So for this episode, it's been a month coming. We're finally going to do our review on the Devil May Cry Netflix series, which aired on April 3rd. Omar and Matt are pretty much going to take point on this episode because they are the DMC experts in our little group. So go ahead and take it away, you guys.
I wouldn't say experts. We just know the franchise more than the rest of you. So,
dude, between the two of you, you've probably logged all over 100 hours in each game alone. You've checked out the lore, the comics, and you even watched the 2007 anime, right?
I have the 2007 anime.
There it is. See,
I have one of the novels and I have two of the manga.
Do you care to still refute the expert title?
Yeah, I still like to critique that.
Nah, whatever. All right, well, keep going. Go ahead.
Okay, so Devil May Cry as a whole is an action series game made by Capcom, focusing on stylish hack and slash moves that surprisingly was originally the concept for the early stages of Resident Evil 4.
That's true.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But Capcom's like, Resident Evil does not need to change genres. You guys do what you will with this. So they just remade it into its own brand and bada bing, bada boom, Devil May Cry.
Hell yeah.
So like I said, it's an action series where you play as a devil hunter named Dante. He is best known by his great sword named Rebellion, his twin pistols, Ebony and Ivory, colored, hence the names, and of course his trademark red trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very snarky and like
let's put it this way: he is arrogant, cocky, and self-assured.
Yes,
he's a merc with a mouth, basically.
He's basically Deadpool minus not as annoying.
Yeah, agreed. No, I think we can all agree on that one.
He has the cool factor.
He the cool factor is cranked up to from 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Anywho, but what Dante is, he's a half demon, half human devil hunter. Like I said, his parents were killed by demons, so he's now going around the world, town, whatever, taking on odd jobs, private investigation. Usually leads to demon hunting.
Yes.
And since he is the son of the greatest warrior of hell, or the demon world, Sparta, he is, as Matt put him, powerful. Like he is like OP in most instances of the series of anything.
Yeah. And that's why he's so cocky, is because he knows
he can
what he's capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Not just that, he's insanely durable. Like you can stab him, shoot him, blow him up, throw a planet at him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he'll come back dancing like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like I said, with the video games, there's a total of 6 games, but one of them is an alternate kind of reboot kind of thing
that the gamers don't talk about.
Actually, we do acknowledge it.
Really good. That DMC Devil May Cry, the side game, whatever, created by made by Ninja Theory, was good in its own right. It
earned its stripes, from what I've been told.
The combat was great. The music was great. The fucking like the environments are amazing.
Yeah.
The story was just very weak.
And they took a lot of the mechanics from that and added it to 4 and 5.
That's how you know that the gameplay wise was good, because the mechanics that DMC Devil May Cry, like they first started using, they implemented into the special editions Devil May Cry 4 and then 5. Anywho.
I had a question. Is that canon or anything?
No,
it's not.
It was just its own little side story.
I guess you can call it a what if.
Okay.
But concerning the story was really bad, and they changed Virgil a lot.
They
Like
changed
they
a lot of
made
the characters a lot, but like they,
Oh, okay.
including Dante.
oh yeah,
yeah, but not Dante wasn't as bad as Virgil, and all the Virgil
Yes.
fanboys came out like, "This is trash. We
Oh.
fucking hate you." And
And
so
yeah.
they're like, "Oh, we're not gonna do this anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you mean
Capcom listened.
they changed them, what exactly did they change?
so with
Virgil was always about gaining more power because of the traumatic experience he went through. That's how it started. He never
Okay.
wanted to be put in a vulnerable situation again. He
Okay.
always wanted to hold the power in his hand. In the remake,
hmm
they try to make him like this hero for justice type of thing. But
more like
then
an anarchist, like anonymous.
yeah, yeah. But then
Okay, yes.
then they try to change him into the power hungry person, but they made it more like he was just after power for the sake of power. There's no real reason behind it.
It's all right. Think of it this way. All right,
hmm
the five main canon games. Think of it as your typical shonen anime, but with like like fucking Castlevania tier animation, whatever.
Okay.
This reboot game is a British punk style
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
type
so
of
it's
game.
different animation
Yeah, it's
More,
different.
more
style
so
of
like a
art.
style, like
Okay.
Different
whereas it's a
artwork,
little
but like
gothic.
the personalities and the characters of their main continuity of the
hmm
main game. Dante was the brash, arrogant, freaking hothead type of character in anime, but he
Okay.
had a heart of gold. He
Mm-hmm.
just like he just buried it in like all that suave machismo, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Virgil in the main continuity, he is a honorable warrior who never fights with firearms, never does does like underhanded tactics or whatever. But like Matt said, he wants to gain more power so he will not be put in that vulnerable situation again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In the reboot anime, in the reboot game, I know,
Mhm.
right? Dante is more of your freaking Sex Pistols punk rock from the 60s kind of character. Bad attitude, bad like alcoholic, freaking sleeping in a trailer park.
Oh,
He even has
okay.
Yeah,
the like
That
his trench
sounds
coat even
bad.
has the Union Jack on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then Virgil in this same game is more like the he plays as anonymous, but he ends up
Yes.
being the corporate type of character that Dante's character wants to bring down because he seeks power to control because he thinks that he's the best option to guide humans or to like if everything was in his way, he'd
hmm
be world
It'd be
orders.
perfect.
The more I think
yeah.
about it, that game seems very reminiscent to the movie SLC Punk. I don't know if you guys ever watched it.
Mm-mm.
No.
In a sense of the style of the art style they went with.
Okay,
Because
but now
whereas
we're
the
deviating too far from what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Okay.
All
but
right, so
get back on track with the show, Omer.
hmm
I said enough of the games right now. The
Mhm.
show, Devil May Cry, the Netflix animated series, created by Adi Shankar, who did the original Castlevania Netflix series that came out almost 10 years ago now. From the first,
Yeah, 2007.
Okay.
was it 2007?
Mm-hmm.
No, the Castlevania series.
Oh, the Castlevania series. It's been 4 years, I think.
Anyway,
Make let's just say
The new
2015 to
animated,
be safe.
the new
Yeah.
animated Castlevania series, right? Yeah.
Anywho, the animated series of Devil May Cry is a retelling of the series of this Devil May Cry franchise as a whole. It's gonna have similarities to the main continuity, but Adi Shankar has purposely said that this is an alternate take of the series.
hmm
So this first season just like gets you introduced to everybody. It's kind
The
of like
characters.
a retelling. Yeah, it's kind of a retelling of the events that happened in Devil May Cry 3, the game,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
acts as a prequel to the entire Devil May Cry series.
Mhm.
They take heavy elements on there where Dante's double trigger awakens or something, and then he's trying to fight this demon who has what's it called, Matt? A grudge against humanity.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
it's a demon that has a grudge against humanity. He has a bunny head.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like about that character is like how sophisticated he spoke.
I like them.
Yes.
Yeah. I like them.
I like that. He was very
Uh,
debonair.
Mm-hmm. There you go. He was very debonair just before he slaughtered somebody.
Mhm.
But
with right reason, though.
yeah, I was also gonna say that the show, what this demon is doing is he's pushing Dante to, get better, to get stronger, and to
Yes.
activate his devil trigger for reasons.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's exactly the premise of Devil May Cry 3, the video game, where the demon is goading both Virgil and Dante into the Tower of Tim and the Gru, because they have something that he needs to open up the gates to hell. And
Yeah,
well,
to set
Mhm.
Mundus free.
Yep.
So, is this going to be a spoiler free, or are we going to talk about all the
Let's do
let's do
spoilers.
the first part spoiler free, and then after that we'll do a heavy spoiler one. So why don't we go ahead and just kind of do a quick breakdown of what you guys liked about the show, and then we'll go into a little more details after that. For starters, I want to hear Jen, because Jen has never played the games, so she came into this franchise with no knowledge of it, what it stands
No
for.
expectations, just
So,
blank slate.
why don't you guys kind of divulge of what was your opinion of the game of the show, what you liked about it?
I really enjoyed it. The pace of it was well done. There was no episode I did not like. I liked all of them. I binge watched them in a day.
Yeah, you could do that. It's only 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's only 8 episodes, but dude, like I was entertained the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Dude, the music was very good.
Especially the intro song.
Yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
it was not.
Oh yeah.
I only say that a trigger man.
No,
rolling.
yes,
God
I
damn
liked it. It kept my attention. I was engaged from minute one. The characters, Dante and Mary, and the bunny guy, and even what's the guy name from the government that is voiced by
Kevin Conroy's character.
Yeah,
Baines, I think is Vice President.
Vice President, yeah.
Vice
Yes.
President Bane, yeah.
Yeah, those characters were like really well developed throughout the series.
Mhm.
And it was very fun to see everybody's backstory as you went on to different episodes. Really great character development.
Oh yeah.
And it definitely left me wanting more. So
Mhm.
there's that.
For sure.
So I'm excited to see, what they do in the second season for this.
Yeah, William Baines was Conroy's character's name.
That was his last acting role too.
Yes, it was.
Damn.
Now one thing that this show caused was a bit of a split between fans of the games. Omar, I know you did like the show despite the fact that it wasn't reminiscent to the game. What is it that you liked about it, despite the fact that it wasn't reminiscent to the game?
Like Ari, what you call it? Jen was saying, it gave the characters some backstories that they didn't get into in the game, but they still had a backstory. They were still able to tell it in the games. But I like how they dedicated at least one full episode on Mary's backstory, but they also gave hints at it in like one of the other episodes of her backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't given Dante his like a full-on backstory, just flashbacks here and there, but that's going to be probably most likely explored in season 2.
Yes.
When he and Mary probably get closer and he starts opening up and like remembering what's what. Another thing that I did like is that they expanded upon the world of Devil May Cry, because in the games you're only locked to that one location, whether it's a tower, whether it's an island, whether it's a small town.
Fortuna.
And there was like 3 of them actually. There was in Devil May Cry 2, 4, and 5, where it was all locked in like one town, and you only see certain aspects of it, and you don't really go into the demon world too often in those games either. You're stuck. You only have like maybe 4, like 3 levels out of the 20 missions that explore the demon world. At least in the animated series, they gave you like more hints, more like there's demonic tribes out there. There's people who have who are living just like normal humans, but are still being
There's a hierarchy to it.
Exactly. Like there's an actual structure rather than just power grabbing power.
Exactly. Now, would you agree with gamers as to why some disliked it, or do you think they were kind of being nitpicky about it?
In my opinion, I think they're being nitpicky about it because one of the main gripes that people were saying about the character in the animated series is that they made Dante too weak. That they made him get his ass kicked by normal humans, whatever. Like, dude, you guys got to remember that this is Dante at 17, between 17 and 19.
Yeah. He's
between
still
17 and 19, yeah. He doesn't know who he fully is, so he doesn't know his full capabilities in the animated series. And the games, he knew he was part demon, but he didn't know about all of his abilities until they got unlocked with the help of Virgil in Devil May Cry 3. But he knew that his dad was a demon warrior, like the greatest one, but he didn't know the extent of his power. So that's why the game's Dante is different than the animated series Dante, because he doesn't know that half of him. He just thinks that he's a freak. He just thinks that he's a mutant.
Yeah, but now that he has superpowers or something like that.
But now that he knows that he's part demon, he'll understand the full extent of his abilities and start gaining more experience, more practice. And then they said that by season 2, he's already going to be at the Devil May Cry 1 version of Dante with his attitude, his look, and his power ability. That's something that people need to understand. Gamers or not, it's an alternate take of the games. Both can exist in different worlds. Every concept out there has a multiverse.
Exactly. Just like comics can have multiverses, games can too.
So long as they still honor the tradition of the character in aspects.
Yeah, we don't change the core.
They could go ahead and change the character however they like, just so long as it honors the source material. Like the original. And that's what Adi Shankar is doing in this animated series. He's giving Dante that again, I'm explaining it like a shonen type character. He starts off weak, but with experience and battles, he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Just like Goku. Goku never started off as Super Saiyan, at least not in the main continuity.
Exactly.
Naruto never started off as what's the character? What's his
Hokage?
Yeah, that thing. I don't watch Naruto.
What's your take on it, Matt? Like, what did you think about the show?
My whole take is I did like it. Like Jen, I was entertained from the very start, except for when you watch the beginning and then next thing I hear is move in, move out. I'm like, okay, so you're going to give me this beautiful thing that is fucking amazing, and then you're going to wrap it in shit, and I have to dig through the shit to get through the good part.
Best intro ever.
The fuck it's not. You know what they could have done? They could have used Devil May Cry music.
Well, they technically do in the show.
Yeah.
Devil Trigger is reminiscent in the show.
Yeah, so is Virgil's theme.
Hell yeah, it is.
But the point is, Limp Bizkit fucking sucks, and you're all brainwashed of why they're good.
They're awesome. That's why.
No,
I never said
they're the voice of our generation.
No, they weren't.
Okay, I don't even go that far either. So.
I do.
Fred Durst rhymes at one point in the song. He writes here and here in the same sentence. That is not good lyrical writing.
We didn't say he was a master.
You're getting off topic, Matt. You're getting way off topic.
Remember, Matt is the music buff, so
yeah. And not only that, but Ed triggered me with that shit. Now he's listening me to complain.
Okay, so
moving on.
I'm gonna be happy to let you know that the producers of the anime say that with each season, they're gonna use music from that era.
Yeah.
So season
2 is gonna be "Cut My Life Into Pieces."
Nice.
No,
it's
season 2 is not gonna have Limp Bizkit as the title anymore. It's gonna have someone else from like the PS2 era of game or the PS3 era of games.
Okay.
They're gonna stick on mostly like 90s.
It's gonna be Smash Mouth.
I'm pretty sure it'll be like more new metal around the time.
Yeah.
Like whatever is popular between
probably Linkin Park.
So the intro is gonna change?
Yes, the intro.
Oh, that's good.
Intro music is gonna change between seasons, and they're gonna use like music like rock music, new metal music,
Nice.
in the eras of the times to
That's
make it
good.
more like
That's
reminiscent
good.
of the games or whatever. That's why they're also going to age up Dante.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man.
Now,
What else you got?
what else I got?
It's gonna
What I
be
actually
really
liked
hard.
about it is that I like how they did take the time and they explored each of the characters, the background. Like Omar said, they give you more of the world. And I, for one, like how weak Dante was. It gave him a better development.
Exactly.
If you think about it in the games, Dante is he does have development, but he quickly becomes a flat arc character because he learns who he is in the first game.
Okay.
Like he has a better understanding because he meets Trish, who looks just like his mom, and all this other shit. And then the second
And that
game,
triggers things.
yeah, like helps his memories and stuff. And then, but
Okay.
that's why they made Devil May Cry 3. That's where he has the
Yeah.
most development.
Yep.
Is
But
in
not
Devil
until
May
3.
Cry 3,
But-
and that's the
Okay, so it
prequel.
takes a while
They
for
went
you
in
to
the
get-
route of Star Wars.
for you to get
Yeah.
more exposition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so then by 4, he already knows who he is. He's already a badass, and it's the
Oh,
same with
nice.
5. And the thing that the fans are complaining about, there's one thing, is that they in the show they decided to focus on other characters more than Dante. That was one of the complaints. Which, if you watch the 2009 2007 anime, the story is told in the same way because
Yeah.
Dante is already like a badass. He doesn't even have to use his double trigger to beat up the main bad guy because he's already OP.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just flexes it a little bit and releases like his spiritual pressure, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and
Mhm.
brings down the bad
Yeah.
guy. Like he is that OP. But the story, which I thought was super creative, which is what they did in this one, is
Mhm.
they told a story about Dante using the characters around him.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's also how it coincides with the games. If you really pay attention to the games, except for the first and third one, they're using the other characters to tell the story, except for 4. Well, when you get to that part when you're Dante, because it tells the
Yeah, it's
story of
mostly about
Nero.
Nero. Mhm.
But in 5, they really do that. In 5, they tell the story about Dante and what's going on with Virgil and everyone else using the characters around them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just like I like the creative direction they went with this show. And I'm
Mhm.
really glad that it was the same studio that did Castlevania, because the art animation was really good. It's the action scenes were beautiful as well. Like I was expecting a lot just based on the fact that it's the same people that did Castlevania.
Mhm.
So, and they met those expectations because we all saw how good Castlevania is. And it's like, well, if you guys really drop the ball here, I'm going to be super pissed.
Yeah.
Also, like all the Capcom references in every single episode.
Oh yeah,
Like the,
every episode had at
like the
least
Mega
one
Man
Capcom.
bobblehead. That
Yeah.
shit was
on the
awesome.
Even if they had, well, thank God they didn't, but even if they had dropped the ball, you can always say, well, multiverse, we don't count that.
Right.
Exactly, he doesn't count.
Worst case
Multiverse
scenario.
theory is a bitch.
Yeah, it really is.
But also, even though they like told this is alternate and stuff, they kept all the concepts of Dante. Like it's still Dante. He's still that egotistical dickhead that
Yeah,
is
he is.
super cool.
Yeah, and that's
And
what
really
I mean
funny
about,
at times.
that's what I mean about being like letting the character or letting them change the character so long as they keep it as the character's core there. And
Yes.
Dante's main thing is that he's OP and he knows he's a cocky badass, but he does have a heart of gold. Like he's like
he's a softie.
He cares.
He's a big old
He
softie.
cares.
Also, the other character I end up really liking, what's his name? Who said he would take a knife for
Enzo.
Dante?
Yeah,
Enzo.
Enzo, yeah.
Enzo
He
is
was awesome.
hilarious.
He was
Yes,
the
he was.
unsung hero of the show.
Yes, he
He
was.
really was.
He was hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't. No, I don't know if I'll take a bullet for you, but a knife.
Which he technically does, by the way.
Yes, he does. He's a
A
man of
big
his
ass knife.
He
But even though he
honored
was
what he told them, though.
But even though he was a scuzzball, like slimy, con man,
he was still a softie.
He still no, I think he genuinely did care for Dante like he cared. Like
I
he
think
said, I care about you like you're my kid. And I think he really did feel that way towards
Who knows?
Dante.
Maybe he could be like freaking Dante's godfather or something. Like maybe Sparta told him like, "Hey, keep an eye on my boy" or something.
Makes sense. Yeah, I like the fact that even though it seems like he's constantly betraying Dante. Dante doesn't even hold it against him because I think part of the reason is because he knows that Dante can get out of the mess. So he figures like, well, I'll make some money out of it, and the kid will get some practice out of it, and then I'll just apologize, and we're all good, and I'll send him to the next job.
Pretty much. That's exactly how it is.
And also, Dante charges him double.
Yeah, he charges them double, and there's even one scene where he and it's a reference to a Capcom game. It's like, this is the worst job you've ever sent me to, even worse than the one in Raccoon City. Okay, second worst.
Third worst.
Third worst.
Well, again, there goes that reference that Devil May Cry was originally a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, but going on from there, do you think that the creators are gonna do a little more crazier stuff in season 2, or you think they're gonna try to maybe coincide a little more with the games this time?
Actually, that's something I forgot where the article was, but I did read it. I think it was like comicbook.com or something.
Nice.
Adi Shankar and the producers of the animated series are saying that Devil May Cry 2 or the season 2 is going to focus more on the game, like for the gamers. This first season was to attract new people to,
and it really did,
like Jen. While also giving fans of the series like little nods here and there, like, hey, here's some breadcrumbs, keep following us, keep watching us. But season 2 is going to be more like akin to the games, like, so it's going to be like over the top action. I wouldn't be surprised if like a random style counter pops up in the corner.
You see it in the corner and the music starts getting even more badass.
Or like one of the like Dante might be like, hey, that's super sexy or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, like a reference to the style counter. But
exactly.
What he means by that, I don't know. But if it is possible, well, no, it of course it is impossible. They did use Devil May Cry music
they did.
But I was gonna say, like, if they could get the rights to using the Devil May Cry 3 lyrical soundtracks of the lyrical tracks in any way, form, like they did with Bury the Light with the freaking
well, isn't Capcom heavily involved in this?
No, they're just producing. They're producing, Matt.
They're not producing it. That means it's their money. That means
but they still need to use the rights of the music, because the music
is from a third party, remember? Different bands.
I thought
it could be the artists.
Yeah. I thought it was the Capcom team that did it.
No.
Because I know
they did the soundtrack, like the actual song, like music, like background.
The music from Devil May Cry is by third parties, different bands.
I know in Devil May Cry 5, when you look up the soundtrack, it says Devil May Cry soundtrack team, Capcom, and it has Subhuman, Bury the Light, Devil Trigger.
They get vocalists from like outside bands to bring in and come in to do the music, so that those rights might end up falling to the vocalists, or at least the lyrics,
because a company can produce something, but ownership of whatever IP it is could fall to the person that created it.
Man, copyright is so confusing.
Yes,
but
it really is.
They need to use Devil's Never Cry and like the full on version, or at least the hard rock heavy metal version of it.
They could have used that version in the opening for this show.
Oh, shut up!
Maybe.
I'm not getting over it.
No, he's not.
Would it make you feel better if they put Linkin Park in the next season's soundtrack?
I don't. Yeah, it's leaps and bounds better than fucking Limp Bizkit.
No, they're gonna put Mission Impossible in there. Freaking take a look around.
Like you were saying earlier, Omar, that this one was a little more to bring in fans.
Yes,
it actually did. The game on Steam went up to the 12th spot as far as popularity.
Oh yeah,
and on PlayStation Plus, it was purchased over 1,000 times throughout the run of the show.
Nice,
of the first season.
But you see how that translates when you do it well. And it's an
Exactly.
alternate universe, and do you do it well, people check out the original source.
Exactly.
They do.
And since Devil May Cry 3 or Devil May Cry in general is an accessible game because there's been so many like remasters compiling out and being released, it's even on Twitch now.
That game has been on 4 different consoles. Those games have been on 4 different consoles.
Oh yeah,
including PC.
Wow.
Yeah, Matt, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that the first 2 Devil May Cry, are they that accessible?
Yes.
Okay. You can get them on the PlayStation Store right now. You can get them on Steam.
Yeah, the HD remake, dude.
All right.
And then from what I hear, they think they're remaking Devil May Cry 1.
Heck, you can, if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play them right now.
It's not even just that. They had the HD remakes for on the PS3 and PS4.
Yeah.
And then
and you can still go online and buy those at a fairly decent price, like $50 for the HD for the 3 HDs.
Yep.
Yeah.
If they're gonna remake or redo the first Devil May Cry, I would change nothing except for the combat, because the combat hasn't exactly aged well.
Well, if they do a remake, they're probably gonna give it the Resident Evil 2 remake makeover or the Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Yeah.
Hopefully more like Resident Evil 2, because that you could tell that was a passion project.
Hopefully it's more like Resident Evil 4 remake, because that was a fantastic reboot or remaster.
Well, think about it like this. I know this is a quick side thing, but when RE2 came out, you knew that Capcom put their time into it. They cared about it, and they did it with passion. Then they did 3, and that was a quick cash grab. They're like, "Oh,
it really was."
And 2 did so well. Let's redo 3.
Yeah,
and it's not. We all know the story about that.
Yeah,
it's a super good DLC. Let's leave it at that. And then they probably got enough complaints, or they knew if they fucked up with 4, it would crash the company.
Exactly. I mean, granted, Street Fighter is still their flagship, but going from let's finish up this first part, and then we'll go into the spoiler alert one. So listeners, beware, you're in for a scare.
Yeah, it's Matt's voice.
What's something that you guys didn't like of the show?
All right.
Besides the intro, Matt. Besides the
intro. Let me think on this a little bit.
The fact that you have to think about it, though.
I know.
Yeah, that says something. Omar, why'd you go?
Matt you go.
All right. Well, first, let me backtrack real quick and say that one thing that I did like was that during the trailers and all the sneak peeks that they were giving out to tease the show before release, those were scenes literally in the first episode. So they spoiled nothing for you, for the new fans or whatever.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what I like. Now, the one thing that I didn't like was the Virgil spoiler. I want to see more Virgil in.
Oh, because they showed it in commercials, huh?
Yeah, but
yeah, they should have waited for people to see it in the show instead of showing it in trailers.
No. But I mean, the things I didn't really like? Well, honestly, there really wasn't much that I didn't like. If I were to say something, I would probably be nitpicking, and that's not really fair. One thing that I could say is that a lot of people didn't like was Mary swearing all the time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people complaining about that probably haven't played the games, because she's pretty brazen in the games too.
Not so much. She's more like femme fatale kind of thing. But I want to say, like, if you grew up the way Mary did in the animated series, you'd have a freaking foul mouth too.
Yeah. Okay,
but part of the reason I say part of the reason she can be pretty brazen in the game is that, remember in I think it was 2, where she sees that Dante
Mary's
has
not
killed her dad. There was it 3 when Dante kills Mary's dad.
Yeah, that was 3.
So remember when she walks in, it's like, you see this guy, this POS, like that Mary is the Mary we got in the show, if you remember that scene, because she was talking all this smack about him, saying that he's this and he's that, and then when she says like, and you killed him, and then kind of goes like, oh well. Like the whole time I was like, yeah, I can see why she's like the way she is.
Yeah, and like you also got to remember, if Dante is about 19 in this series,
she's like 15 or
yeah, because
13, I think.
she's younger than Dante.
Yeah.
She was at least like 16 or 17 in Devil May Cry 3.
Yeah.
So right here, she should be around the same age. She would have had found out at that age too, especially
Yeah, for real.
where she went.
Jen's sister is a potty mouth, dude, and she's 13. Like every other word that comes out of her mouth is a swear word.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say the thing about Lady, that I didn't like is in the game she has a stick up her ass.
In the show, she kind of had a stick up her ass too, though.
That's what I was getting at. Like, but also, let me finish this thought real quick. Okay, she had a stick up in her ass, but it was like dialed up to like a what? Like,
I'll give you that.
In the game, she had the stick up her ass, but in the show, is dialed.
She had the whole tree up there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like it's like, dude, chill out a little bit.
It still goes back to what Omar says with the whole team.
I understand, but also like she's not like 15 or so.
Yeah, but
she's
they aged her up in this to be about 19, but again, Matt, she's still a teen. She's barely an adult.
You know how teens are.
Also, she's also probably on a power trip because she said to be the best of the hunters right there. Or something.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Well, she's the only one that survived.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Jen, what were you gonna say?
Not just that, but remember, Kevin Conroy's character kind of manipulates.
Oh yeah,
he does.
Oh yeah.
You know, like he uses her past to have her like one of the kind of build her up and like
Oh, so he can do that reminds me of now. Jen, do you remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yes.
Do you guys remember specifics of it? Yeah, the show.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember in like the early season 3 or ish or whatever, when the I think it was the governor or the principal, whatever, was like brainwashing Faith?
Yeah.
Or had her as his disciple thing, whatever.
Yes.
And sent her out hunting against Buffy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
it is similar.
You can make that argument because he basically he did to Fate what they did to Virgil basically. But yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I feel like a lot of people didn't like about the show is nitpicking, like you said, Omar. Me personally, I think the only thing I didn't like was some of the art style, and it's usually in the scenes where they're just standing around. They move like characters from Archer. When it's action scenes, though, they move really fluid, and it just felt weird seeing them move kind of robotic-y.
I think they made complaints about that too, but it was like very minor from what my understanding.
Yeah, it was still weird though, because like you have these fight scenes that were like so fluid and very fast paced, and then
the budget
when they're standing around, they're moving around like Lego figures. It's weird.
Hey, no, when they're doing the fight scenes, they're like, "What's the budget? What budget?"
Yeah. And it could have been worse. That sounds more like a reverse Dragon Ball Super when Super was being first made.
Right? I forgot about that. But either way, like me personally, I love the show. They did a fantastic job, not just sticking with the core, but I felt this to me felt like a love letter to the gamers, which is messed up that they were so bitchy about it. Because when I first saw the show, I thought it was coinciding with the games, but then when I read that the guy said that is a completely different story, I was like, oh, even better. I can enjoy this so much better. But I also like all the nods they did to the games, the boss characters, the weapons he's using, some of the moves he does, his catchphrase like jackpot, even the bullets that he's shooting, the Capcom references, everything about this show just screams like this is for you guys, for you DMC fans, and to bring in more fans into the franchise. Because for whatever reason, DMC is not one of their highest franchises, which is kind of weird because it's really
actually it is.
It's really
compared to Street Fighter and Resident Evil though, like for whatever reason it always falls short, which is I don't know what it is.
Okay, but I see what you mean. But if you were given like of all their flagships, it would be Resident Evil, which sells more than as of now, it sells more than Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm just saying this show. I feel like this show will probably just bring not new life to the games, but maybe even make it that flagship that it should be.
Because you also got to remember, Ed, there's only so few games in the franchise compared to Resident Evil and
right.
That's true.
And that's what I'm
Street
saying.
Fighter and
That's what I'm
RE
saying
have a
though.
lot
Like,
more games.
even though it's a fantastic gaming series, because I played the games, I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, but I play the games. I see the appeal. I can understand why people like it. It's an easy, well, I wouldn't say an easy game to pick. Well, actually, it is an easy game to pick up. It does get challenging, but
Okay,
at the same
fair enough.
time, it's so accessible that like Jeremy picked it up one time and he ran through the damn game. It was 4 that he played, and he ran through it. Granted, 4 is probably the easiest one in the entire franchise.
They're all around the same difficulty level. The thing is that if you want extra stuff, you
Yeah,
need
you
to
can crank up the
master
difficulty.
No, you need to master the mechanics to get
Mhm.
the most combos. That's
True.
how this game you can beat the whole game using the basic combos.
Yeah,
But
the
if
1,
you
2, 3
want
combos over and over again. Yeah,
but if you want extra orbs and shit like that to
yeah.
level up your health and double trigger, you
Mhm.
need to do more damage, and that is to master the mechanics to get those combos.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also do New Game Plus. You know, keep all your stuff, just run it through again. What were you gonna say, Jen?
Yeah, but here's the thing. You've seen the competition it has to compete with, right?
Yeah,
Like there's a nostalgia, a lot of nostalgia with Street Fighter.
exactly.
You know?
And that's what I think
it's
this
all
show
the-
is gonna do with it, because as great of a franchise as it is, I don't think it gets the love and
Recognition?
admiration
It
as it
should.
deserves. But this show right here, I dare anybody not to want to play the, and clearly that's exactly what happened, because a lot of people started playing the game because of that.
I mean, it piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shoot, I was
Check.
tempted to get 5. I was like, damn, I was like, it's right there. I could probably get it for like 10, 15
Ed,
bucks at this point.
Get 5. You it took them 10 years to make 5 after this 4 was released.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jen, to get like a good view of the series from the video game perspective, I suggest you get Devil May Cry 3 on the Switch, because in my personal experience,
well, you can get the HD on Switch, all 3 of them on the Switch.
Yeah, no, but I say play Devil May Cry 3 on the Switch because the definitive version, because you could style change and weapon change between all of your weapons.
Yeah, you can
like
get
how
crazy
they
with
like
the
how they
combos
did
in
in
that
Devil
one.
May Cry 4 and 5, whereas in the original 3 that you play on the PlayStation, you're only allowed to select two long range and 2 melee weapons and 1 style, and you can only change them at the goddess statues.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is basically like save points in stores.
Yeah, and they're pretty far in apart.
So you think
too.
it's better to start at 3 than 1?
That's what a lot of gamers say.
Prequel.
A lot of the
3
is a prequel.
Technically,
okay.
3 is 1. Technically, the way to play it
goes,
is 3.
Devil May Cry 3, 1, 2, 4, 5.
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe I should do it in that order if I want to.
That's what a lot of people suggest, yeah.
Okay.
The thing is though, like if you go from the game mechanics between Devil May Cry 1, 2, and then start playing 3, you're gonna understand the differences. But if you go from playing 3 to 1 and 2,
you're not gonna like
be a
them that
slog
much.
because they did.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
They haven't aged well.
It's
They
like
haven't
going
aged well.
backwards, you say?
Yeah.
Mechanics.
It's definitely one of the
Yes.
franchises that does need to get a true remaster, like rework the
real-
mechanics.
That's why they're
that.
gonna start with remastering Devil May Cry 1.
Nice.
But like I said, to get the true feeling, or at least the beginnings of the true Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry 3, the game, is where anyone should and everyone should start off at.
Plus, you see a lot of the bosses from the show in 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see
I
Agni and
see.
what's his name?
Agni and Rudra.
Yeah, you see Plasma.
Plasma's from 1.
Plasma from
Plasma's from 1.
Oh, okay.
Echidna's from 4.
Uh-huh.
And then the Cavalier Angelo is from 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
But regardless, it's a good franchise, and this show should bring a little more love to it.
I mean, it looks like it started already.
Yeah, definitely check out the show on Netflix.
Okay,
So
there's one thing I could think of I didn't like about the show.
Okay, there we go.
Wow.
And they featured all these cool bosses, but they didn't feature the frog with the dancing girls.
Oh, that guy.
Dagon?
I forgot about him.
Or a Bale.
Maybe season 2.
A Bale.
No. I mean, because there's 2 of them, remember?
Yeah, there's 2 of them. That's
Burial
true.
is the Dagon and Bale, I think, is the other frog name.
Yeah, they're in 4, right?
Yeah. 4.
Yes.
Yeah, but we'll probably
Dante
see them
gets
in
Pandora
season 2.
from one of them.
Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say?
I have one thing. Well, I have a thing that I like and I don't like. One thing that I did like was that they made you care about the characters. They made you feel involved, you know?
Not just the
Mhm.
main characters, too, the side
Yes,
characters
the
also.
side
And we'll get
characters.
into that in a little bit.
And that's why I
There's
didn't
a
want to say
couple
what
I
I
didn't
didn't
give a
like
shit about.
because it kind of a little spoiler.
We'll get into that in a
Okay,
little
so I'll
bit
tell you
later.
what I didn't like when we do the spoiler.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
All right. So
My dislike is in the spoiler territory.
okay, cool. All right, folks. So if you've been listening up to this point, this is gonna be our first part of the review. For this next part, it is gonna be spoiler heavy. We're gonna talk deeply about the episodes, the characters, and a lot of the things related to the show. So if you want to go and just stop listening there, please, you're more welcome to do so. If you already seen the show, please continue. As always, remember hit that like and subscribe if you're listening to our YouTube channel. If you're on Spotify, same thing too. Check out my owner. Use code word MediaBuff to get 10% off your first purchase. So on to the spoilers.